Cephalopods. 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 Tentacles! 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 Ah! 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 Tentacles! Tentacles! Yeah, tentacles! 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 Tartar sauce. And tentacles. 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 Sandwich. Omegon. For you. Use code Sammich to get a 10% discount at Sea Knight's Crafted month of November.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit creeped out. But I do want that pillow. In fact, it is a current Streamlabs goal of mine to get. Link to that, and of course the promo code mentioned below, along with Sea Knight's YouTube channel. Now, the subject of today's video is something that I could not believe until I saw the alert on my phone and then went scrolling through the article to confirm it. Had cropped its ugly head again from 2015-2016, which somewhat surprises me that this has some longevity to it. All it does is reinforce the very notion, could be considered a trope at this point, that millennials are delicate little snowflakes. The same kind that want to police the internet into absolute censorship, forgetting here that it will also eventually include them. They themselves would end up being censored. So when you hear about a university going out of its way to accommodate for those who might have a sudden PTSD issue because of clapping, you start to wonder just how delicate they are.
Jazz? You know what jazz hands are?
I know what
you
jazz
looked it up, didn't you?
I didn't look it up. I've known about jazz hands for a long, long time. Jazz hands, it goes back to the time of Al Jolson. That's jazz hands. Your hands above your head, sparkling, 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 okay?
What's sparkling?
You sparkle as you do it. You shine, you shine. But appropriated for the year 2000 movie Bring It On, which was about cheerleaders, where jazz hands became spirit fingers, which is down lower, and spirit fingers are down here, and you really have to give it an emphasis. I'm all across the cheerleaders.
And what's wrong with this?
Yeah, you can't do that.
No clapping.
I'm
You're getting
anxious.
anxious.
I'm anxious.
Jazz hands is up here.
Jazz hands is up here, spirit fingers
hands
down lower.
Now, this cropped up in America a few years back, and I remember it being made a mockery of by the honey badgers. Whether the honey badgers are any good now, I don't know. I haven't watched their shit in years. The moment they started putting out daily content, I lost interest, which is inevitable for me, I guess, as well. Yay. I don't care. Up until the Calgary Expo thing, I was a bit of a follower. In any case, the jazz hand thing was mocked, rightly so, back then. But now it's crossed the ocean. If I could remember which ocean it is, I'd say it. But geography is not my strong suit, and it's now infected us. Now, there have been things in the past that have come across the ocean and tried to get a foothold in this country. Black Lives Matter is most notable, and it failed. Kind of like how different genres of music tried to kill the metal, and they failed, as they were stricken down to the ground. Thank you, Tenacious D. So I don't expect this to last too long. But this is in Manchester, and I thought I'd read a little passage from this article. A students' union in Manchester has banned clapping and replaced it with jazz hands to help people suffering with anxiety or sensory issues. Sensory issues, like medical conditions, I get. I have a nephew that's heavily disabled, and he has a room. It's called a sensory room, and the purpose is to help him comprehend different senses and learn how to sharpen and hone them because he is damaged. That sounds callous, but it is a fact of life really for him. But unfortunately, when it's being equated with clapping, as if that is a sharp reaction to students going to university, to Manchester Uni no less, even though Manchester Uni is trash, UEA better, go Pirates, you start to wonder whether or not you're going there to become an adult, transitioning from a child to an adult, essentially, teenage years are kind of that interim period, or whether you are being coddled to the point where you are still going to be a child when you leave. Now, this is all according to the university's newspaper, the Mancunian, which I can link below for anyone who's interested. It is actually quite thorough, and it does say, jazz hands will be used instead of traditional clapping, whooping and cheering at University of Manchester Student Union events, following the change to the Student Union Constitution passed by the first Senate session of the academic year held on the 27th of September. It was argued that the loud noise of traditional clapping and whooping pose an issue to students with anxiety or sensory issues. BSL, clapping or jazz hands, would be a more inclusive form of expression. Can you just imagine that? You want to give someone an applause, but instead you've got your hands up and honestly, the only people that truly benefit from this are those trying to mask their Parkinson's. Liberation and Access Officer Sarah Khan authored the motion called Making Senate More Accessible. It resolved to swap out audible clapping for BSL clapping at SU events and to encourage student groups and societies to do the same. Thing with the NUS, and I was a part of my NUS when I was at uni. In fact, we wrote the Constitution back then. The problem is, it has devolved. If you don't do as you're told or adhere to their rules, the NUS will then go out of its way to censor you, ban your club, ban your society even, prevent you from performing very basic things either because they don't deem it to be safe or because they are looking for an excuse to get rid of you. For example, sports teams. A number of them have been banned for the most arbitrary of reasons. There was a clay pigeon shooting society, I believe, and someone on the NUS board didn't like it. So what did they do? When someone asked for new lockers, and it instead said that they'd transferred all the guns in there into their locker because it was the only one safe, they called the police and said they were armed and ready to go to war, and the police basically swatted them. Now this led to a lengthy court case, and they end up losing. Not the person who took the guns and moved them into a different locker that was safer. No, the NUS lost. They are petty, they want to treat adults like children, and quite frankly, they are an embarrassment. They have become as childish as politicians in Parliament. These are the kind of idiots that will threaten to batter you if you don't do as you're told. I wouldn't trust these people to batter a prostate, let alone a person. They are so feeble, it is embarrassing. And I get the need for some people who do have sensory issues. If there's a medical condition, I get it. But for a whole NUS, no. Clapping, cheering, whooping is fine. You are merely pandering to those for their anxiety issues. If you have anxiety, by the way, and I say this to you as somebody who has anxiety, see a doctor and get prescribed the correct medication for your condition. And get medical help, psychological help, whatever help you need, so you can fit in with the rest of society. I get the idea that you want to affect change, and by doing so you start at a younger level. However, If you're going to treat children like children and continue to treat adults like children when they're adults, we're going to have a society of children making adult decisions, and children, as we know, don't have the mental capacity to make adult decisions. For the most part because they're ill-informed, but also because they're trying to protect each other from the world. Well, get this through your dense skulls. The world is cruel. It is not all like this country in particular being as supposedly progressive as it is. Now, there is another thing mentioned further down in this article in the Mancunian, where Sarah Khan also proposed a second motion to the September Senate campaigning for greater QTIPOC, inclusion and advocacy. QTIPOC, by the way, is queer, trans, and intersex people of colour. Okay, well, first things first. Queer is kind of already an LGBT. I know it doesn't have its own designated letter, but let's face it, queer is essentially bi. Trans is on LGBT. Intersex people of colour. That is such a minority, it is basically non-existent. I'm not denigrating those who are intersex, but seriously, such a small number. I get the need to advocate for those who think they've been marginalised, but you don't help by creating a label indicating they've been marginalised. Society doesn't care. You're a person, you go to work, hang out with your mates, go home. That's all that matters. Oh, and pay your taxes because we love roads around here. Oh, someone's going to get triggered by that. To finish, as far as I am concerned, this is all a farce. Your NUS has become a joke. Jazz Hands died in 2016 because it was a joke. Honestly, stop. All that aside, I hope everyone has a lovely Tuesday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your arse.
Imagine my shock